Welcome to Beginners Academy. We have a group on Zoom. We meet weekly, and every other week we like to have a topic. Our topic tonight is get ready for Winter Field Day. It's fast approaching. Um, my name is Greg Lane. I'm in for KGL, and question is, what is Winter Field Day? The Winter Field Day event aims to help participants improve their preparedness for disasters and enhance their operational abilities in adverse conditions. Amateur radio operators have the freedom to use frequencies on HF, VHF, or UHF bands while employing voice, CW, and digital transmission. The event designates specific objectives to encourage a diverse range of activities, including the use of non-commercial power sources, the deployment of multiple antennas, establishing satellite contacts, and more. So it's well advised, if you're interested in Winter Field Day, to visit their website at winterfieldday.org. You'll find a lot of information there, including the official rules. And I've been doing Winter Field Day for a number of years, and the rules have been updated. And it's a significant change, and we'll cover that tonight. And if you're going to do Winter Field Day, you can register your location on their website. They have a online map of participants around the country. So why am I excited about Winter Field Day? Well, like ARRL Field Day, Winter Field Day is a fun outdoor ham radio contest that I can enjoy with friends. And note that I use the word contest. The official rules say it is not a contest, but they keep a score, so I'll be interested in maximizing my score. All right. Well, Winter Field Day, every ham can participate solo, with their friends, or with a club, amateur radio club. And if you're interested in emergency comms, Winter Field Day is a great opportunity to operate off the grid. So ARES groups, ARES, may want to use Winter Field Day as a informal exercise. And I recommend, if you're a new or prospective ham, take advantage of your area's live ham radio demos. So if you find a Winter Field Day by a club or even individuals, check it out. It's a good way to see ham radio in action. Now, POTA, Parks on the Air, is just very popular. And if you already do POTA, you have a good start for Winter Field Day. So mark your calendar. This year, Winter Field Day is January 25th, 26th. It's the last full weekend of January. And one of the rule changes is that the hours have been expanded to take advantage of more daylight. So previously it started around 1 o'clock Central Time or 1 o'clock Central Time and lasted 24 hours. This year it's a 30-hour operational period, and our I'm in the Southeast United States, so I'll use Central Time, starting at 10 a.m. Central on on Saturday and ends at 4 o'clock on Sunday. So if you're just going to go out for the day and operate, maybe both days, and not spend the night, you have more hours in the daylight. So that was one change. Of course, one of the goals is to make contacts, and Winter Field Day on the air is similar to other contests like ARRL Field Day. Of course, ARRL does not call Field Day a contest, but nevertheless. So all bands, amateur bands, are available except for WARC bands like 60 meters, 30 meters, 12 meters, and so on. But you've got plenty of bands to operate. And most, but not all, the activity will be on HF, high frequency. All modes can be used, phone, CW, and digital, with the exception of FT8 and FT4. That's because those FT modes do not support the exchange for Winter Field Day, and they're not really considered emergency modes. But the PSK 31 is a popular digital mode for Winter Field Day. And when I got back into ham radio, PSK 31 was the thing. And it works great. And there are other digital modes you might try, but I've found that PSK 31 is pretty popular, and you can set up macros to pass your information for the exchange. And speaking of the exchange, the Winter Field Day exchange includes your call sign, a category number, a class identifier, and a location identifier. And we're going to go through that in more detail. So the category is basically how many transmitters you're using that you have operators for. So if you have one transmitter and one operator, or just one transmitter, you may share it among, you may have some relief operators. That would be a category equal to one. You could have two rigs operating simultaneously with operators, and that would be two. And that's probably going to be it unless you're participating with a club that may have more than two. So, what is your class? This is somewhat unique to Winter Field Day. I'll start with the home station is participating from inside your permanent livable residence with all the luxuries. Obviously, Winter Field Day, the weather is pretty severe in some locations. Here in the southeast, it's not too bad. But anyway, if you prefer to operate at home, that's an option. Next, an indoor station would be operating away from home in something comfortable like a cabin or a building, EOC, a club shack, and so on, that has heating and cooling and running water. That would be indoor station, or I. An outdoor station is where you don't have heating, cooling, and plumbing and so forth. Uh, Things like operating at a picnic table, park pavilion, in a tent, or so forth. Okay. Now, mobile uh, could be uh, it could be a car with an antenna running around, but it could also be you may be operating in an RV, uh, on a sailboat, cargo trailer, a mobile EOC. So, but the point of it, you're operating something that could move if you needed to move it. Now, you may want to read these descriptions in the rules and get them to sink in. Actually, there may be a, a lot more mobile stations than you would expect. All right. Well, you need to give the other station your location, which is would be a ARRL, or what is that, radio uh, amateurs of Canada section. So uh, uh, some sections are a complete state, like Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, which are in the four call area. Um, but you may want to have a list of these, and you can find a list with their names. Um, but some states have more than one section, and uh, um, let's see, oh, South Texas and North Texas, and on and on. So you may see some things you don't initially recognize, but you want to be able to make sure you got it right when you put it in your log. So, all right. So, what is the Winter Field Day Exchange? Well, it's those things we discussed: the class, the category. And so your info is a class plus the category, like one Oscar, which would be for outdoor, and your ARRL or RAC section. So we'll play along here. Chris VA3ECO is in our Zoom, and I don't know what he's going to operate. He'll probably be outdoor, but let's just assume he's at home. He would be a 1H Ontario North. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, ONN. Just
ONN.
like just like some of the states, Ontario is divided up into three different
Yeah.
sections.
And let's say I'm operating in Georgia, and I would be one Oscar, and the Oscar would be for outdoor, and the state of Georgia. All right. So, so Chris, do your part.
Okay, so this is phone, I take it. I go CQ Winterfield Day from Victor Alpha 3, Echo Charlie Oscar.
Okay, I hear Chris. I'm on his frequency, and I say November 4, Kilo Golf Lehman.
And I say N4KGL from VA3 ECO. I copy, oh, please copy one hotel, Ontario North. Or I might say Ontario North and then say ONN because some people, it saves them looking it up on a chart. Might do both.
Right. And I would say QSL, uh, we are one Oscar, Georgia. One Oscar, Georgia.
And I say good luck. CQ VA3 ECO or Victor Alpha 3 Echo Charlie Oscar.
Yeah.
So a lot of stations, there's not a whole lot of banter. Um, 73 and whatnot. Some stations there are. In fact, some guys will go on to have a little conversation. Wow, your signal's good. What kind of antenna are you using? Oh, I got a end-fed wire up in a tree. So you kind of got to play it by ear, whether the other guy wants to chat or not, whether you want to get verbose
Yeah.
or not. But a lot of the
Yeah.
guys, it's just like this. It's very quick, efficient, done.
Yeah.
But not
So
all.
you could do the equivalent of this in CW, but you wouldn't use phonetics, obviously, and it's very brief on CW. And digital, you wouldn't use phonetics, but you would probably put your info in a macro so you can just hit a key on your keyboard and and it will send the appropriate information. So, all right. Well, there are two operating styles. I have a kitten here who's doing search and pounce. They're very good at that. And that would be tuning around for a station calling CQ, like Chris was calling, work the station, exchange the information, and then I'd look for another station calling CQ. And I might start at one end of the phone band and go all the way down the other end and work as many stations as I could. And then I might jump over on CW or a different band. And so most people starting out do search and pounce. Um, but the stations you call are probably going to be running and their dogs barking there. And so they find a spot, they'll call CQ, give their call sign, they'll work a station, and then they call CQ again. And they just sit right there on that frequency, and they might be there for hours, maybe the whole thing. And uh, uh, well, probably running is more efficient because if you have a good signals, you'll get a pile up and you'll just work one station after the other, and it could go on. It could go on for an hour or more than an hour, just one big pilot. But anyway, the more you participate in these events, the more comfortable you would probably get. Um, really, in both of these modes or styles. All right. Let me make a little adjustment here. Shoot. I'm trying to get rid of this floating panel. Well, I'll just go with it. Well, this is probably the most important slide of the talk, and it concerns how you get your score, but they've done something new. Instead of bonuses, which they have had in the past, they have objective multiplier numbers. And they're listed here. It's hard to see the one at the top, but it's operate on alternative power, 1, operate from home, 3, huh? Deploy multiple antennas, 1, and there's a couple satellite. FM is 2, a linear satellite, SSB or CW would be 3. Send and receive at least one email, Winlink email. And Winlink lets you send a email via RF, and that is one. Copy the bulletin one. Now, operate on at least 6 different bands. Six, use multiple modes like digital and phone. Two, operate the event QRP. Four, and operate 6 continuous hours during the event. Well, if you if you to get your multiplier, you check these off and you add up the multiplier numbers, and you could get 20 or more. Your multiplier, some of these I'm not sure you can do home, but let's say you could really go to town and get a multiplier over 20. Or um, the difference with this is it makes it worthwhile to take the time and send that Winlink email or make that satellite contact. And if you're willing to do QRP, that's a pretty big it adds to the multiplier. So let's go down a little further, and the number of phone contacts. Maybe you did 50.
Wow.
Okay. They're 1 points each, so that'd be 50 points. CW or digital contacts, you did 50. That would be 2 points each. So uh, 50 plus 100 would be 150 QSO points. So you take your total QSO points times the sum of those multipliers equals your total points. So what I was impressed with, as I said, um, usually bonuses, you say, well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to do this. I'm just going to make contacts. Well, I think here it's worthwhile to pick up some of these objectives to increase your multiplier. On previous winter field days, the multiplier was the number of sections you worked. So are there any questions about this? I think it's new, and I think it was pretty smart move.
What do they mean by copy the winter field day special bulletin? What does that mean?
Well, there'll be a station. Uh, I think it's in California. There'll be a station that will. I haven't heard any details on it, but they may read the bulletin or send it in CW, and they should publish a time and call sign and frequency of who's going to essentially broadcast the bulletin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a similar thing in for ARRL field day, but it's going to be interesting. Maybe they'll put it on more stations than just one in California. Um, all right. So is the score all that important? No, but it's not a contest. But personally, I treat it as a contest. So um, now I mentioned POTA before, and um, you may just pretty much like your POTA operation, go to a park, operate during the day, and participate. And uh, you don't have to tell the people that you're POTA. You can, but nevertheless, you can turn in your log to the POTA website and get credit for an activation.
Are there designated areas or do you free wherever you go?
You can operate this anywhere. So as far as winter field day, it could be at a park that's POTA. It could be pretty much uh, any place that will entertain you operating there. So uh, I have an option of operating from my friend Tom's. He has a spare home. I wouldn't operate in the home, but I could operate in the yard there. So so many possibilities. Um, I generally like to go to a state park because if you reserve a site, then you can operate overnight. So
Now, I think it said in the rules, Greg, that you got to be half a mile from your home.
that's right.
So your
That's right.
backyard used to be okay, but it isn't now. They want you to go
Yeah.
half a mile.
Tom's backyard might work, but my backyard won't.
No. And Tom could go to your backyard
Yeah. It's
if your wife would let him.
yeah. Okay. Well, Chris and I have had fun at Winterfield Day previous years, and we were at a park and operated overnight, and it was a blast. So, why do this? I do it because it's fun. You may do it because it helps you prepare for an emergency, and that's the intent of it. All right. Uh, as a detail, if you want to give your club credit for your operating, you don't have to use their call sign. You can use your own call sign. And when you turn in your score, in the file, there's a spot for your club. And just to make it easy on the winter field day, folks, if you're want to give Panama City ARC credit, then use the text Panama City ARC. It's helpful if everybody does the same.
Yeah, you have to spell it just right, or it doesn't, computer doesn't click yet. So
Yeah.
capital P, capital C. So Panama space, city space, capital A, capital R, capital C.
Yeah. This is just Greg's suggestion.
Yeah.
We've
That's
done
what
it.
we've always done over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you don't have to log contacts, but certainly if you want to turn in a score, a log is required. And it may be possible to do a paper log, check the rules. But if you're going to make a lot of contacts, there's some very handy software from many sources, but one is N3FJP. They make a version of their logging program that's specific to winter field day. It knows all the rules, so it will also calculate your score. And you can check it out at n3fjp.com. So in the logging program can hook up to your computer, to your rig, and then the logging program will know what band and mode you're operating. Okay. So sometimes that's something to check out ahead of time to make sure it works, because sometimes you have to play with the parameters to get it to work. And at worst case, if it didn't hook up, you could use it and manually put in the band, but it's so hard to keep up with. It's very nice if your program is using the cat commands or whatever to interface to your rig. And N3FJP is not real expensive. You can pay some amount, $30 and $40, and get all their programs for all the contests. Um, Another choice is a contest logger, which is N1MM. It's not as obvious to set up, but it works very well. And on the Winterfield Day website, they have some other suggestions for loggers. So, but for ease of use and getting it cranked up, this N3FJP is awesome. And you might work N3FJP during the event.
As a bonus.
Yep. So for your rig, you don't need a linear amplifier because, well, 100 watts is the max. QRP, I believe, is 10 watts for phone or digital and 5 watts for CW. But
5 on digital too, I think.
well,
Isn't it?
actually, in years past, they never said one way or the other.
Okay.
So I'll have to double check. And of course, you'll want to double check to make sure you're legal. But QRP boost your objective multiplier by 4s, and it's a choice. But I've found, particularly on CW and digital, that QRP works pretty well. It may be more uphill on phone, so, or you can just go with 100 watts. If you're new to it and you have a 100-watt rig, you probably want to do that.
It's 20 watts on SSB, and there is a limit on digital, but I can't remember which way it went on.
Yeah, we'll have to check.
Okay, I just got it here. 10 watts on phone or less than 5 watts on CW or digital. So digital is 5 watts now.
Oh, it's 10 watts. Okay, I thought it was 20. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
10 on phone, 5 on CW or digital.
Okay.
For 2024.
Huh. I'd rather have 10 watts on digital, but.
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah. But actually, I did a field day and we did 5 watts on all the modes and had a ton of contacts. Well, except we didn't operate phone, but that's a detail. Okay. Well, people that do POTA know about this, but it will help your multiplier if you use alternative power or non-commercial power like a battery or a generator or a windmill or whatever. But nevertheless, there are a lot of, and it doesn't matter what power source you use, but lithium iron phosphate batteries are very nice. There's a company, Bioenno, that is a quality vendor of these batteries, but they're on the expensive side. So you can shop around and find less expensive lithium iron phosphate. But even if you used a spare car battery, that would be okay. If you want to, if you're going to be operating overnight, you can use solar panels to keep your battery charged up during the day, and then you'll be better able to handle the overnight operation because your battery what I found, pretty much the solar panels will replenish what I'm using as I go. So basically, when it gets dark, the battery will be fully charged. And so having being able to use alternative power is definitely good for emergency situations. And there's some details about your logging computer. Does not have to be on battery. You'll need to read the rules about that. But if you use the computer for digital modes, then it needs to be on the battery. So that's something to consider. All right. Well, there's an endless choices of antennas, and so all I can say is that any antenna that fits your site and covers the bands you want to operate is fair game. So it's anything you can muster. And everybody has their favorite antenna. Dipoles, end-feds, verticals are popular. And they make a point of deploying 2 or more antennas is another objective multiplier. And if you are operating on multiple bands, they encourage you to operate 6 or more bands. You may want to have a multi-band antenna. I have a link dipole that will operate 2 bands, and I also have an end-fed that basically operates 80 through 10. So that's something to ponder. But if you've been doing POTA, you probably already have some antennas in mind. All right. So what's the bottom line? Well, I just wanted to get the word out. We've got about 4 weeks here, so mark Winter Field Day on your calendar. Participate in any way you can. It may be from home just to find out what's going on. You may visit somebody else that's got a setup, and they'll likely let you make some contacts on their setup. And you can submit a score and help your club, so to speak. So with that, do we have more questions about Winter Field Day? I'm not hearing any. This slide, I really go all out for these things, and you don't have to do as Greg does. This is East Bank. This is where I've operated for a few years, both Winter Field Day and ARRL Field Day, and I had to pick another site, and I picked campsite C24, which is the best site for campers. It's a pull-through site, and it has it's right next to the Lake Seminole, and I wanted to make sure I had space for a end fed that's about 120 feet long and a hex beam. So I reserved a second site that's C23, and so I'll put a little shelter there on C23, and the hex beam will be there, and so, but you don't have to go to this trouble to operate Winter Field Day, but I enjoy it.
I might come down to sublease 23 off of you.
Well, you can come down and operate out of the tent. Yes, you can. Um, this is a different site, the one I usually operate, and so we have a camping trailer, which is on the right. I have a little portable shelter there, and that's where the radios are. And I have a portable hex beam that will do 20 through 10. And then this site has green space, which you can't see, but it had enough green space to put the 130-foot antenna up. So, all right. So the setup will be something similar to this, but at a different site. So, all right. Well, that's what we have tonight. We'll see if there's any comments from our Zoom group. So I'll stop the share. Do you have something to share, Chris?
Not a lot. I'm trying to think. I don't know who all's doing what, but I got a PSK screen up here. Unfortunately, there's nothing happening right this moment.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll share that. And so this is 20 meters, 14.070. There's not a lot of action on PSK now that the FT8 modes have gone in. Here we got someone right now. So if we look at this, this is a beacon, YV4
Wow.
DHS/B. Any idea what YV4 is? Is that down in the Caribbean? Anyone good on call signs or look it up on?
I don't know that.
I think it's a ways away. Anyhow, that's coming in as we speak. That shows you how much action there is on PSK 31 when it's not winter field day. So this is a beacon that goes every 10 minutes, and he's looking for reports on how his signal comes in. You're supposed to email him at BPSK31 beacon at AOL.com. Come winter field day, though, there will be a good 6 or 8 or 10 stations here, maybe more, on almost every band. So winter field day, this PSK31 really comes back to the way it was 10 or 15 years ago before the advent of FT8. So it's worth checking out. And I just like to say the reason FT8 is not used for winter field day is that the organizers felt that it's not really an emergency traffic type of protocol. You can't ask for more blankets or say, the force is on fire or what have you very easily with FT8, whereas you can with this. As you can see, while we were chatting earlier, up here, can you see my mouse, my little eye?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a station in Aruba that was here 5 minutes ago while Greg was talking, and he was talking to someone in the States, talking about his station. Aruba is a nice, quiet Caribbean place to live. Temperature today was 29 Celsius, which is probably not too far off Panama City Beach. I don't know, but this is what kind of stuff you would see back in the old day. On winter field day, you'll see a ton of CQ, WFD, and then the guy's call sign. So this is where the action is. RTTY is another mode we're checking out during field day. This particular software is FL Digi. It's a little bit, it's very powerful, but again, it's a little tricky to configure. You've got to get your rig control working. I'm using this type of a control system, ham, LIB. Got to get your COM port, your baud rate, all this stuff in there. An easier one to use is, Greg, help me out on this. What was it called? It escapes me now. Anyhow, there's other PSK modes that are simpler to set up than this one, but this one's very powerful. This one also interfaces with that N1MM logger that Greg mentioned earlier. Bit of a pat your head, rub your tummy to get it all set up, but once it's done, it's wonderful. It works really fast, really smoothly.
You can interface this program with the N3 FJP log, and it will populate
Yep.
your log as you go.
Yeah. So that's PSK 31. Like I said, not much action when it's not Winterfield Day, but this will be booting right along. RTTY. I'm going to quit this. Another one to look at for sending message is GS8 call. I'll bring that up real quick. Is there any people going on? No, that's just the PSK 31 signal there.
So is the PSK 31 much more difficult than the FT8 to set up?
No, it's basically the same other than you're using a different program. And I've got to say that the FT8 program by Joe Taylor and the gang has got a really nice how to set up the radio, the baud rate. It's really user friendly.
Yeah, I finally got it to work, so that's good. I may take a look at PSK.
Unfortunately, you can't be using that, but once you got that down, what the heck is the name of the easier PSK program that I was just thinking about?
So BSK is a little more confusing to.
Well, FL Digi is, not all of them are. I just used one called Mix W years ago that was very simple to set up.
Yeah.
I like this. This is kind of like a program. I didn't even know about this one.
Now, this one here is something else. This is not BSK 31. This is called JS8 call, and it is using the FT8 system. Well, an older FT8 system, but the guy named Jason, what's his last name? Anyhow, his initials are JS. That's why they call it JS8 call. He was calling it FT8 call, but Joe Taylor said, well, that's Frank and my initials. Why don't you use your own initials? You're adapting it. And you're free to do so. Use your initials. So he said, okay. So we changed it to JS8 call. And it is actually, I can type in messages here and send them out and receive them. It's a little bit complicated. I wish there was a message coming through right now, but there isn't. Anyhow, the messages pop up here and you can do a CQ thing here. In fact, if I send a CQ, maybe I'll get some action back.
And this is acceptable for Winterfield Day.
Yes, because this one here, you can say whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm saying CQ, Northwest Aries. So I'm calling, Aries use this quite a bit. So our Northwest Aries use this, and this is a CQ call that we used. Let's see if I get some action back on this. It's been so long since I used it, I'll probably
interesting.
not do well on it. Again, this is the kind of stuff that you should probably practice ahead of time and get kind of in the groove. I think that what we see in the waterfall here is that beacon, the PSK 31 beacon, which is not decoding in JS8 call, two different modes. And over here is the new FT8 mode, I suspect. This is an older FT8 mode, which won't decode the new FT8 protocol. If that's confusing for you, I don't know. Anyhow, that's JS8 call. The third program, if you're getting into stuff onto your computer, and this is something that really is worth looking at, is Winlink. And that is a system where you can send emails to people with no internet where you're at and get into a server hundreds or thousands of miles away and get onto the internet in their area. Let's say you had a hurricane at Panama City, wiped out all of Florida and Georgia's infrastructure. And you've got a daughter in California and wonder if you're alive or not. You could email her directly with this program.
Really?
Yeah, with like 10 or 20 watts and a wire antenna. And I've done it. It's quite impressive. I'm not going to get into the details of this because we have done a video on this, and it's in Greg's archives of videos. How far back was that, Greg? 3 years ago? 2 or 3
Probably,
years ago. Yeah. Anyhow, go back, you'll find it. We spent a whole session on Winlink. There is a mode here called Vera, which speeds things up dramatically. It costs to be registered about $70 US, I think, Greg?
Maybe 75, something like
75,
that.
yeah. It will work without the Vera registration, it'll just be a bit slower or a lot slower. But if you're just trying to make one contact out and one contact back, you don't need to do the $75. It'll just be patient. It'll work. Yeah, that's a whole different science in itself. You're using servers, how to find them. I'll just do it real. I'm not going to send out a signal, but I'll give you some kind of an idea. Channel selection. I'm looking at distance. Here's one that's close to me. There's its frequency. I select that one, select that channel, bang, my radio jumps to that frequency. I hit start and away I go. And I connect to that server. Any email that has been sent to me can sit there for months. And when I connect to that server, that email will come in. I can reply to it. It doesn't have to be a winlink.org email. It can be a glane@gmail.com. You can talk to non-hams email addresses through this system.
You can go peer-to-peer too, can't you?
You can also go peer-to-peer. I'll close this down. And that was HF Winlink. And then P2P down here. There we are right there. We're on HF right now, peer-to-peer. And now we're going directly to someone's computer who's got the same program on. So it's one to the other.
That bypasses the need for the
server.
Server, right.
But if you're both in an area that has no internet, yeah, you can get information to them, but you can't get one to your daughter who's not a ham. So they both got their uses, absolutely.
Right.
Your ARRIS people will use this in an FM mode. Where is it? Here we are. Vera FM radio. This mode here. Now, Bob Plank would be the guy to ask about this. I've never really used it in FM. He's quite an authority on the FM mode. Much faster, much more robust, shorter distances, but really powerful. And I believe your ARRIS group uses that at your hospitals and your EOC station. So that's, if you get involved in your ARRIS, you'll learn about that. So that's Winlink. So that's kind of 3 digital programs that are mentioned. And like I said, we're not going to go through them right now, but it's something to look at. You've got 3 or 4 weeks to plug away at this and might want to give one a whirl.
And what were you going to say about satellites, Chris?
Well, then there's satellites.
Oh, Chris's backyard.
Yeah. There's FM and there's non-FM. I found a new resource here that I should bring up. Let's see, where is it? Oh, now I'm going to call me a liar. I can't find it. Anyhow, there was a new satellite page that I'm having trouble finding right now. Maybe I'll put it in the comments when you post the video, Greg. But it shows which ones are alive right now. This one here, do another share. Uh-oh, what did I just do? There we go. Yeah, you're looking at the AMSAT live satellite page right now?
No, it's your home screen, essentially.
Okay. I hit the wrong button is what happened here. Share there. That's better. There, AMSAT live Oscar satellite status.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll take a while to figure this one out, but down here it's got all the satellites, and blue means people are hearing them. And you can move your mouse over and say, oh, who heard them? ZL3, so that was a New Zealand station. BA7 station heard it. I don't know what country he's in. Anyhow, you can go right through here and see who's hearing these satellites. There's your ISS FM. If they're underlined, you can click on them, and it'll take you to the AMSAT page and give you details, what frequencies they run at, their schedule coming up. Powering off for a US EVA on January 16th. Powering off on the 23rd, I think. Oh, that's our field day weekend, is it not?
No, it's the 25th, 26th.
Okay, so we're okay. So if it was on the 23rd, we would have been out of luck, but it looks like it's on. So that's the AMSAT page. There's another page that I'll post in comments.
So you want to try to go across there and find people that are in your area that can hear it already. Is that what you're?
Once you're up into a satellite, no, because you're talking to the satellite. Where the other station is, it doesn't really matter. As long as he's within what they call the footprint of the satellite. In other words, you can get to the satellite and he can get to the satellite. You can be 10 miles away or 2,000 miles away. Your signal will be exactly the same.
Okay.
And that I was going to actually mention that for you guys, if you want to venture out in a satellite, especially if it's an FM satellite, my suggestion is to catch one out over the Gulf. And because when it's that far south, there's not a whole lot of other people monopolizing that signal.
The first stations you will hear will be in Central America.
That's right. So if it's a northbound satellite, get ready at the beginning of the pass when it's out over the Gulf, and you'll hear the Central American stations and not too much action, because it's when it gets over the States that it just gets clobbered with a whole bunch of people. Last winter field day, Frank and myself and what's his name?
Jim.
Yeah, we were doing a satellite and it was just busier than heck. It was a south-going satellite, and as it cleared Florida and got out over the Gulf and got within reach of Central America, all of a sudden it calmed right down. I could hear someone clearly. He could hear me. We had a nice contact. It worked beautifully. But while it was north of us over Georgia, forget it. It was just mayhem because everyone's trying to get into that satellite. So there's a secret for you Florida guys. Do it when it's south, either coming up from the south or going down to the south. That's where to hit it because it won't be so congested. And probably the same goes for the linear sats. Although the linear sats, you can find a frequency wherever you want and get, it's not so congested, the linear sats. But that's a whole different ball of wax trying to get your frequencies and Doppler shift exactly right on the linear sats. Again, you can go on the internet and find out about that. But the FM is simpler. That's why it's worth less points than the linear sats. And ideally do them both. Yeah. But that's about it for satellites. Anything else I missed, Greg?
No, I think that's about it.
That's about it.
So you can keep it simple, and then over the years, maybe do more things that will be worth more points. But it's one of my favorite activities, and both of the field days. And if you don't like how hot it is during the June field day, you got the January field day, and you can be cool.
The program I couldn't think of is DigiPan.
Okay.
One word, DIGIPAN. Haven't used it for years, but it's a little simpler to set up than FL Digi. So either or are good programs to use.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I appreciate everyone's attention on Zoom and Chris's bonus material there, and look forward to working some folks on winter field day, and check out our other videos on YouTube. So we got a lot of beginner topics and other interesting topics. So 73.